Wholeness. Welcome to my space, my place. My name is Rashida Silvertree. Thank you for tuning in, and may this message find you well and whole. Today's topic is the trumpet, an instrument of warning to prepare. This is probably going to be my fifth time trying to make this make sense, so I'm just going to ask for guidance at this time to speak from a space of presence and to open myself and just allow what needs to be said, allow it to flow. Okay. The Western world, the Western Empire is falling. And if you have ears to hear and eyes to see, you've done your homework, you expand beyond limited perception of reality, what is real, you have somewhat of an intuitive or spiritual connection to the all, you will understand this video. You will understand this message. If not, you may have a very challenging time and you might just click off. Do you? No pressure. I don't mind, nor do I care. But I felt in my heart to upload this because now 2029 that I've mentioned several times in many of my videos, where in 2016 I went through one of my, I think my second largest spiritual awakenings ever in my life. You'll have many of them, numerous spiritual awakenings, but the 2016, in the spring of 2016 was a major shift for me. And I received a download one morning that 2020, about the year 2029 specifically. I mean, and my dreams at that point were popping. I was getting so many premonitions, dreams every single night, visitations, spiritual attacks. You name it, I was going through it. 2016 was the year for me, okay? Like I was meeting parts of myself and aspects of myself. I was integrating really fragmented, hurt or forgotten parts of my soul and spirit. I mean, it was a deep time for me. But the year 2029 came through. I used to keep track of all my dreams and all my visions and premonitions, but I have let them go. Why? Because to know the future is to be trapped by it. But 2029 is always stuck with me. And I'm like, 2029? What about 2029? 2029? And I was shown some things. And now I'm actually, right now, actively getting an image. Okay, thank you. Thank you, love energy beings. Okay. And so what does this tie with the end of the Western Empire? The USA, the Western Empire it's a patriarchal society that's built off of the ancient Roman Empire, which was inspired and built off of ancient Greek Empire, and then their political system. And then the ancient Greeks bumped their political system off of ancient Sumeria, and then ancient Sumeria, they bumped theirs off of ancient Kemet, and so on and so forth. Okay, but it's an ancient patriarchal system because my personal belief and intuition tells me that it was first matriarchal. We followed the way of the mother. We followed the way of the womb of all creation. It was a very feminine way of life, and then we broke off. We fragmented, and the male, the masculine, the patriarch took over. Okay, that's as simple as I can make it. That's a theory. That's my own personal spiritual theory of societal evolution. Um, so knowing this, and I've taken Latin in my as a younger student in high school. I took it for, I believe, 2 years. I took it for 2 years. And I'm so happy I did that. That was the beginning of my linguistic studies. I've studied languages for a long time. I started with Arabic, being raised in a Muslim household, and then I had this obsession with the French culture and French language. So I studied French, and then later I picked up Latin in my the last, I think, 2 years in high school. So I took French and Latin, and boy, let me tell you, studying Latin literally bridged every subject for me, even subjects that I had a really hard time with. But with that, with learning the Latin language, and no, I don't speak Latin fluently, but you take a couple of years because it's a dead language, right? As they say. But you learn a lot about Roman society, Roman government, Roman politics, the culture, the language, the role of women and men and children, how they conquered, how they lost. Documentaries after documentaries. I remember it was Mr. Jim Stebbins, Mr. Stebbins. He was the Latin high school teacher. And everyone loved him. Awesome, awesome instructor. But I have an understanding of ancient Roman political systems to a certain extent. I'm not a lawyer. But anywho, so, oh man, how do I tie all this? So the Western Empire, right? And empires are built off of the backs of the defeated. Okay. I was raised in the Western Empire, where the privileges that I've had, meaning access to fresh water and electricity, basic stuff, access to shelter, access to education, access to higher learning. Like I have a degree in a college degree, access of using products, digital devices, Wi-Fi, a vehicle, being able to put gas in my car without an issue. It's a very privileged lifestyle, even for the most impoverished Americans or Western peoples. It's a decent life compared to the non-Western societies that are playing catch up, right? But it is falling, like every empire before us. And what's so interesting is that in ancient Rome, the way the Romans kept their empire was through bloodshed and blood sacrifice, through war, through complete domination and obliteration of other cultures and tribes, right? They used an iron fist and their swords and their shields and their military expertise to completely dominate pretty much the world. Only continent they didn't touch was the Americas. But with that, when you build an empire off of bloodshed and violence, that is a practice that you'll have to repeat over and over and over to keep that empire going. And over time, this forces other outside powers to strengthen, because they get better at defending themselves because they have to fight you, right? And over time in history, Roman Empire, they fell. They fell and they fell to what they called the heathens and the barbarians and the Germanic tribes and the Franks and Gaul. They slowly began to eat away at the Roman Empire, which at that time was split in three. Towards the end of the age of the Roman Empire. And so they had three separate rulers. So from the inside out, Rome fell. and then the Roman Catholic Church kind of took over and whoop-de-woo, and then it just, turned into what it is today. But that's what we base our political system on, a fallen empire. So Western empire will fall as well. So how does this tie into the trumpet? Okay, I'm going to bring up the shadow elite. When people say they, oh, they're coming after my money, or they're controlling everything, or they're manipulating the story, or they control the media, that's the shadow elite. The shadow elite, think of like if you work for a company or corporation, think of like the CEO of the company, right? Think of the CEO's boss, the boss's boss's boss. That's the elite, the shadow elite. They control in the shadow. All right? Their frequency is very, very, very low, but very, very, very powerful. And they influence every industry that you can imagine. So, why are the borders open? And as a world traveler, I've traveled, in Europe. So firsthand, as a traveler, and from a Western country to another, Western culture to another Western culture, I could see their issue with the borders a long time ago, 10, 12 years ago, when I was in France. There were a lot of Turkish people, a lot of North Africans, West Africans, East Africans, mainly from the South, third world countries. I got maybe a sprinkle of some Asians in there, but they were there and they were present. And now that you see what's happening in Europe and how Europeans are feeling so threatened by the influx of non-Europeans coming in. And also in the USA, you see a lot of Mexicans coming through those borders, or not just Mexicans, Venezuela, because Venezuela's political system is trash. So you have a lot of immigrants and refugees. I would say refugees for Venezuela, because if you look into their political system and what happened in the past decade, wow, scary stuff. But anywho, I digress. A lot of people from South America, Central America, just coming on through, right? And so a lot of Americans are like threatened, right? They feel like, this is so wrong, but really, really feel it in Europe, okay? But I'm going to, just a side note here, karma, like, it's a concept, I feel, on a metaphysical explanation of the whole border thing, and, you have a lot of illegal immigrants and just bulging on through the Western Empire, the borders of the Western Empire, because the Western leaders are allowing this, but I'll get to that in a moment. But this is just a side note. The influx of illegal immigrants or people or non-Western individuals coming through the borders is this. It's just the ancient, or the consequences of our ancestors, the choices of our ancestors. It's karma. Hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years of colonization. And I mean, like I said before, empires are able to become empires off of the backs of the defeated. So they reaped all of those benefits from African countries and in the Middle East, and all those resources, all year, decade after decade, century after century after century, forcing the people there, the defeated ones, to leave because the resources are depleted. There's poverty. They want a better life, right? It's just karma. It's just a balancing of things. Right? So, why are the borders open? Why are the Western leaders keeping these borders open? It's called globalization. That's the agenda of the shadow elite. And with globalization, this is what they want. This is why, what's his name? Dang, I forgot. What's his name? Bill Gates. Gates. Isn't that funny? Borders. Gates. See the synchronicity there? Bill Gates has bought enough land I think it's like the size of Rhode Island. He's bought up a lot of farmland. One of the multi-billionaires in the world, buying up all that land. He's never picked a piece of corn, shucked a corn. He's never planted seeds. He's never had to, after a windstorm, go in and save the corn and straighten it up again. I have. He's never had to do back-breaking work in the fields before. But he bought up all that land, though. For what? Right? So let's get back to globalization and the borders. So the borders are left open because the shadow elite want to, they want to destroy nationalism. They're bringing in the New World Order. This is going to happen within this century, or at least within the next 50 years. This is not going to be peaceful, but this is their agenda. So what does that mean? To live in a world with no borders. That means you can't call yourself American, you can't call yourself Mexican, you can't call yourself European, you can't call yourself African. Why? Because it will be all free access to all human beings. We will be one citizen, one way, and that is it. This is probably going to spark the World War. Because nations aren't going to stand for that. There will be no ownership. Like that in that book, 1984, you will own nothing and be happy. Within this century. I may not be alive, or I might. My generation anyway. But the grandchildren of the Alpha generation, woohoo! It's going to be something for them. Alpha, when they see their grandbabies. Anywho, so that's what they want. They want no borders. How does Trump play into this? So I'm not going to say I'm a Trumpy. I'm not going to say I'm a Trump supporter or I'm a Democrat or, when I was young, I was definitely more liberal. And as I get older, I'm definitely more conservative. But I will never claim one party or the other. It's not about the parties. It's about the type of leadership. That's what you need to be looking at, especially nowadays. But anyway, I'm not here to share my affiliation to either group because I know what's going on. The agenda is about the globalization. Trump is stopping that. He's slowing it down. He can't stop it because it's inevitable. Because Shadow Elite is a very nefarious and dark force, and they don't care. It's I know it has something to do with bloodlines and very little to do about it's about bloodlines for sure. That's an important thing for them. But yeah, he is a trumpet. Let me tell you, he's here to. If he can't stop it, he's here to at least warn and awaken. He's a catalyst to wake you and I up and the rest of the Western Empire that's falling. If he is elected, if he survives long enough, that's why they wanted to wipe him out, because the Republicans and the Democrats don't want him, because he's going against the agenda. He's for nationalism. He's for reserving and conserving and building and strengthening. At least that's what he's preaching, right? That's what he's about anyway. That's what I observed when he was in power. And no president's really in power, okay? Like they're like the puppet, but he's different. They don't like that different. And that's why they wanted to blow his head off. That's why they assassinated Malcolm X and Martin Luther King. Because when Malcolm X had a spiritual awakening over it when he went to the Middle East for the first time and he saw how diverse the Muslim or Islam was over there, he came back and said, "Oh, we need to come together and unify." And they're about to meet up right in the middle. And the shadow elite said, "Oh, no," because they wanted them to be separate. Black Americans, when we unify, the time when Black Americans, the melanated folk, when we unify into one, it's going to be something else. It's going to be something else. The melanated people. Anywho, and I'm not, again, if you know me and you study enough of my channels, I'm not about the whole race thing. I'm not. I'm all for humanity, okay? But this is just my observation of what's going on and intuitive interpretation of what's going on and how it's playing out. So that's why they wanted to wipe him out. Okay? Yeah, I believe it was an inside job. Republicans are like, we can't have him. He's gonna, because he's gonna, if he gets in the office, if he survives, if he survives the whole next 4 years, I think he will be able to. He's gonna break down the Republican Party and make it anew, and that's a threat to them. Democrats, they want him gone. They want him dead. They want him dead. They don't want him alive. Okay, so he's being attacked on both sides. That's why it's like, be careful who you affiliate with. Okay, I'm not affiliated with none of them. But yeah, so that's why they wanted to take him out, and he's going against that. He's saying, fight, fight, fight. Bro stood up, bleeding, fight, fight, fight. Fight the agenda. Fight it. That was, do you know how symbolic that was? They're trying to take that dude out because he's going against what they're trying to do. Because there are much bigger things happening. That's why they want a unified global, which I'm not going to get into. There's a reason for the globalization and why they want one world government, one world power, and one world citizen. But I don't want to, that's going to be for another time. All right. So prepare. So he's being used as an instrument of warning to prepare for the unfolding. How can we prepare? Right? The three words that are so strong is instrument, prepare, and unfolding. So, instrument, that's a tool, right? Become resourceful and prepare. I'm going to say this, and please don't take offense to those who are all about prep life, preppers, One thing about preppers is that it's a culture. It's a subculture, and especially in the Western world, because in third world countries, it's their life. Every day is survival. But, so they'll be fine. But in Western world, we're so spoiled, and we're so just like, that could never happen here. That doesn't happen in America. That doesn't happen in France. That doesn't happen in the UK. That doesn't happen in Deutschland. We're very protected and shielded, and we have tunnel vision. Okay, we believe that we're very far away from the threat to society as we know it. But that's not the case. A lot of these prepper videos, they'll mention safe zones, like especially in the U.S. Like, oh, Arizona's a safe zone, Colorado's a safe zone, Florida's a safe zone, Washington's a safe zone. There are no safe zones. The only safe zone is within you and your connection to your creator and your God or spirit. That's it. Because you're going to have to learn when to stay put. You're going to have to learn when to move. You're going to have to learn how much to take with you and how much you need to leave behind. The land will always speak to you. That's why I'm a huge supporter of farming and agriculture. Get in tune with the land, and the land will tune you in. You'll know. I always know how long I'll be in an area. Ever since I started like farming and doing agriculture in my travels, it's a spirit, it's a deeply spiritual thing. That's why you want to learn how to grow your own food and tune in and nurture and be a steward, not an owner, a steward of the land. It's a beautiful connection. I can drive in my car and go to a new place and just intuitively know what my purpose is without knowing what my purpose is. It's a dichotomy. It's weird, but it's an energy I feel. It's a knowing, clairsentience. But prepare your mind. Prepare your mind. Yes, I would say, really, to be honest with you, get your water, fresh water. Make sure you have, you go when you go grocery shopping, get cases of water, get canned food, and make a bug out bag, because with how things are looking, when people start to, look, there's nothing new under the sun. Look at what happened in the 60s when they were just mad. They took out 4 people, probably more. Malcolm X, Martin Luther King, and the Kennedy brothers. Come on now, what happened? Riots. Things were on fire in the U.S. for a while, and they were on fire. And I intuitively feel that there's just gonna be an increase of political violence and people getting lost in the illusion of separation and possessed by the spirit of hatred. So prepare your homes, talk with your family, talk with your neighbors. Make sure you guys are linked up. And even with them, be careful, because people switch up on you. I'm not trying to incite fear, but channel your fear by being prepared. But I say this also, prepare that spirit, and then prepare your internal compass and your internal guidance. That's going to be critical and crucial. Because again, there will be a time in the near future, especially up in the 2030s, you're going to have to know when to stay and when to go. When you go, you're going to have to learn what to take with you, how much, and how much to leave behind. It's going to be very different times. That's why I want to get into teaching, because these children are going to need to know. And I'm not going to incite fear in them, but there's a way that you can really influence and help and guide children in a way that won't incite fear and confusion and whatnot, without being political, without splitting them and devising them or dividing them and separating them. I would teach how to just get in tune with what's here and inside and being present. So all is well and everything is unfolding as it should. The great unfolding, I like to call it. That's what it is. And fear, some people say false evidence appearing real. That's a concept. I believe that for a long time. I say feel the fear, do it anyway. In French, it's courage. Cor is heart, rage, courage. Right before you do something, you're a little scared, the French say, courage, courage. Like, be brave. When you channel that rage with the heart, courage is channeled rage. It's channeled fear and anxiety, and you give it direction. You give it purpose. That's what soldiers have to do when they go to war. They have to channel that fear and make focused action. That involves the solar plexus. Okay? For those of you who are into energy work, strengthen that solar plexus. This is going to be the time to do it. It's going to be the time to do it. New Agers really focusing on the higher dimensions of self and higher consciousness. Oh, your crown chakra, your third eye, your heart, that's all great. But if your lower chakras are messed up, which most are, you know, your lower chakras are your childhood traumas, your fear of creativity, your just a lot of fear, misdirection, lack of confidence, lack of focus. Those are your solar plexus, your sacral, your root chakra, and your earth star. Those are the energy centers that are most weak, or the weakest points in a human being's energy field. So, strengthen those things. But that's what this video is about. Trump is the warning. And if he lives long enough and he survives long enough, and what's so sad is that how deep and dark the shadow elite will go. Because when JFK died, then they went after his brother, you know, and so it doesn't stop. They'll wipe out his whole family if they felt the need to. It's evil. It's evil. But people are waking up, though, with the unfolding. This is the great unfolding, and you know, so if you made it through this entire video, thanks. Or, you know, good for you. If it made sense to you, I was unsure how well it will be perceived, but, you know, it's not about political affiliation. This message is not about political affiliation at all. If this message reaches you, you get it. You understand it and you can see. And if it doesn't, and you're like, oh my God, Trumper, you're MAGA. It's like, it's, the globalization is a preparation for what is coming that most human beings are not prepared for. And so the shadow elite want to control that narrative. And that's their way of doing it, is to dissolve all national borders and to create one income, one healthcare system, just one thing. And I don't need to go into deep, dark, you know, like what that entails. I mean, do your own research, but that's what it is. And Trump is, I think it is divine, like, what's happening. Do I agree with his view? No, this is not about his personality or if I like him or hate him. I don't hate anybody, but if I like him or dislike him, this isn't it. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about his role, the archetype. He's a warning. He's being used as an instrument to warn us of what's about to take place within probably this century. Yeah, you and me, people watching this video, we're going to be long gone. But we're definitely going to be at the beginning of it. It's your great-grandchildren and great-great-grandkids that are going to be, they're going to have to fight, like what Trump was saying. Fight! Fight what? Fight what? You know, I'm not getting into the whole, like, what were they talking about? The the conspiracy and how he was shot and stuff. I don't care. It is what it is. I think it was an inside job, and both sides don't want him. They want him wiped out. Democrats and Republicans want him wiped out because he's going against the shadow elite's agenda. You go against the shadow elite's agenda, then they start wiping out your bloodline. So all of his family, really, they're at risk. They're at risk because if they go after their father, Donald Trump, you can't tell me all 5, 6 of his kids are not gonna try to fight. Come on now, no. It's dangerous. These are gonna be. I'm the optimist. I'm very positive, and I love preaching forgiveness and gratitude and love. Watch my video, like watch the messages I upload. I don't, I'm not about violence. I'm a pacifist. But I gotta call it. What I see in the schools, what I see in the hospitals, the front lines of society. I see the poverty and the welfare and the forgotten and the bottom of the food chain of society, and sometimes the upper level, sometimes the upper echelon, if I even said that right. Sometimes I see that. I'm exposed to that world, but I see it. Your nurses, your doctors, your therapists, your teachers, your educators, your principals, we see what's happening. We deal with it. The culture, the cultural shifts and the political shifts, we deal with that shit. That's it. That's all I got to say. Again, heed the call. Heed the call. Instrument. Warning. Prepare. All is well and everything is unfolding as it should. It's part of our evolution as a human species. Evolution ain't always pretty. All right, see you next time.